What is going on, people out there in the world of YouTube? Welcome to A Scorpio's Life, and today we're going to be going over the reasons why you probably shouldn't work at an Ollie's bargain outlet coming up next. Now, hours, the only way you get hours that are over 25 or part-time is if your management or you're a cashier up at the front of the store, known as the main cashier. There will always be hours for that, but they will put you off at weeks at a time. So you will have work scheduled whether you're part-time or full-time, and at times you will have a whole week unscheduled because the store supposedly or allegedly gets so many hours. Now, that is what they tell you. However, I've seen many shifts where they said they are over hours or they don't have any more hours, but somehow magically somebody gets 2, 3, 4 more shifts on their schedule that week. The same week where there is no more or they're over hours, supposedly. So that is one thing you got to take into consideration. If you are looking for a job that is 40 hours or more, this probably is definitely not it, or it's going to be a part-time job and you're going to have to work 2 jobs at once. Now, not only that, the condition of the store was in absolute devastation, honestly. The air conditioning would go out constantly. There'd be days I'd work, it'd be like 92 in the store. Customers complained, and they were actually really rude because of the heat. Food products would spoil, the heat and other things that would be affected, such as sales and everything, and we're really pushed to push these Ollie's Armies, essentially, which is a card they have you sign up, and that's essentially how you get hours for the store. If you don't get that many sign-ups as a cashier, chances are your hours are going to plummet, and I've seen this happen time and time again, and it even happened to me. So, with that being said, the store, when I went in and I worked there, there was human urine and fecal matter that backed up out of the bathrooms onto the woman's floor in the man's bathroom, and this would happen simultaneously quite a bit. So, when this stuff would happen, they would call the plumber, and this stuff happened like 5, 6 times, so it was a regular occurring thing and theme within this Ollie's bargain outlet. Secondly, they had bins placed with what looked like crime scene police tape, but really it was just caution tape marking off these aisles because the tiles of the ceiling was falling in because of a leak. So they had the store like that for several weeks until they got that fixed finally. And then the air conditioner would go out, and there would be people that would leave their carts in there because of long waits when we have several employees working, but they'll only put 1 or 2 cashiers up there. And people just really get tired of waiting. They'll abandon their carts and leave the store, which I don't blame them because it's like 92, 93 degrees in there. And we've had days where I live where it's actually like 96 outside, and I go to work, and when I get off work, going outside even in that heat and the shade feels a lot cooler than being in the store. So it was actually just really rough conditions. The store was in total disarray. They're not putting any money to it, and it's really ran down. Not to mention the graffiti that's on the walls of the bathroom that's carved in there, and there's a lot of things. I'm not going to go into what is carved on the bathroom wall, but essentially they really should do something to cover it up. So that's another factor at Ollie's. The stores are usually really raggedy and ran down. Now, when I worked there, guys, people often did a lot of different things in the store. You have all kinds of customers, right? Most people paid for stuff, but when I did what was called recovery, which, items customers choose not to buy or can't afford or this or that, they get separated, put into bins essentially, and this goes to recovery. So whoever's doing recovery that day is going to get a cart, put all that stuff in there and go put it back, plus put stuff to the section of the store they're assigned up, okay? So if you see like beef jerky and the towels, or like where blankets or pillows are, the beef jerky don't go where the blankets and pillows are, because we try to keep everything, I guess, categorized in one aisle essentially, which never happens at Ollie's Bargain Outlet, because if you've been to shopping there and you're probably watching this video at home, there is stuff everywhere. Anyway, so what I was getting into was, when I did recovery, a lot of people stole stuff. Now, each time I do recovery, which was usually 4 times a week or sometimes more, there'd be days I work 8 days in 2 weeks, 10 days in 2 weeks. Schedule would fluctuate back and forth because that's retail, I guess. However, I would at least find 10 items per shift. So every time I'm doing recovery and I'm putting items back, there's at least 10 stolen things. And the stores do have cameras, but they're typically only up at the register, when they should applicate them throughout the store, as well as metal detectors, because they lose a lot of merchandise this way, because people go in there and know that there are no cameras in the store. And I mean, me at my house, I have several cameras, so I don't understand, if you own a place of business, why you wouldn't invest more money into security and theft loss and prevention. So they don't really care or seem to do really much about this. And me, working as an employee, got informed that there's really nothing you can do. You can tell management that you see someone stealing stuff, but I have at my job, and time again, nothing happened at all whatsoever. They didn't call the police or nothing. There was one shift I was working, matter of fact, where a guy came in, and there was 3 or 4 employees that day in the store, and it was like 86, 90 degrees in the store, and it was really slow, like 2 customers. I went back with management at the time to look over cameras, because there's a guy that supposedly stole a fan. And he did, sure as hell. He ran into the store, walked into the front, stole a fan, and ran out the back through the docking bay where we would usually get truck. And you can see him just run, bolt out the door, and get on a bike and pedal off with this giant Dyson fan that's about 250 bucks. So, and police wasn't called, nothing was really done. I'm sure it was documented, and but that's the thing I noticed. Just not a lot gets done that needs done, and just common things that make sense, like upkeep on business, giving employees proper hours in order so they can pay bills, especially in this economy. This is things Ollie's Bargain Outlet fails to do, essentially. Now, when I worked at the Ollie's Bargain Outlet, I did quite a few different things. One, I handled sales on the floor, customers constantly. I helped them and escorted them to aisles and told them different information about certain products. Secondly, I did recovery, like I said. I put things away, straightened up aisles. I also helped put up displays, essentially. I was cashier. That was another thing I did. So I cashiered. Now, getting into being a cashier, when I went there, everything there is really, when they say, retail on a bargain, they mean it, and you can see why, because even the store is a bargain outlet type deal. It is really ran down. The equipment, they would send me up to the register. I'd be back pricing items, putting them on pallets essentially, and then going up to cash register to clear out long lines. And when I did, the scanner would not even keep up, so it made it constantly hard to do the job essentially. then there would be products that wouldn't even have a thing where you'd have to stop and look up what's called a SKU, which is like a 6-digit number, sometimes can be more, but it's a number that helps you look up the item within the system essentially. And that was one thing that really slowed down the production of the store. The computer would go down, the keypad would go down, the scanner wouldn't keep up with scanning items, and you're sitting there scanning items, bagging, taking payment, giving change, talking to the customer, and you're doing this again and again and again and again. So to be systematic, you ultimately need equipment that works. Now, I seen when I was went in one day, they did replace the scanners, and that did help, and systematically things happened a lot quicker, and the scanner kept up. But the computer system's really still old, and they need to update that, and that's what they're working on next, allegedly, and they're probably never going to get it done, and it's just going to be a horrible system. And I also used what was called U-boats and pallet jacks, things of that nature. Their equipment is really ran down. I mean, it falls apart essentially. It's just really old. You can tell that there is no real money put into the equipment because of how old it is at these Ollies. So essentially, it's a third-party store. If you think about it, and they should put at least money into some equipment. I mean, I was there and it was weeks before I even got shirts, so I had to constantly wear a vest. So finally they gave me 3 shirts, and that was in my size because I'm a taller, bigger dude, and it took them forever just to do that. So these are all things you got to kind of consider when you want to work at an Ollie's bargain outlet. Now, essentially, I'm going to conclude the reason why I got terminated from Ollie's. Now, why I got terminated, and this isn't an angry at Ollie's video, really, I could care less. They never gave enough hours, even when they gave me, full hours, and they never really paid a lot, per hour at all. The pay rate's really low. For all that you got to do, essentially. You're basically running a store by mastering all these techniques and running all over the place like a chicken with your head cut off every day in order to fulfill these tasks. But anyway, basically, when I was hired and shown the cash register, there was a thing where you can, if somebody's an Ollie's Army member, they have a number. You can scan their card, or you can put their number in. Okay, somebody told me to suppress that, and I'm not going to disclose any names. Just put in an area code. So I, of course, put in, the zip code of where we are at. That's what I was told by 2 different people. One essentially several times, but again, I'm not mentioning no names because I don't want to get them in trouble. Anyway, fast forward. I've done this 65 transactions now. About 65 customers came through, didn't have an Ollie's Army number. Boom, put in the 43130. Well, essentially what I was doing that I had no idea that I was doing was giving points on them sales to some lady that lived in the state of Pennsylvania, which I'm not even anywhere near state-wise. Or do I know this lady? So I was working one shift, and it was a horrible shift. It was truck, and truck is just absolutely horrible. You want to avoid those shifts. If you go to Ollie's Bargain Outlet, definitely try to avoid truck shifts. They are just brutal. It's non-stop physical activity for about 4 or 5 hours, and you get up at around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. They're the worst shift there. But anyway, fast forward. So I get off truck shift, and then I have loss prevention come and talk to me in a room with my general manager, essentially. And they tell me, start asking me all these questions. And the guy's just, I guess, trying to get a feel for me because he's asking me all this random stuff that doesn't really entitle to why he's there or what I'm doing in the room or, what this odd situation I'm in this room for. Well, he was a nice dude, but he was just poking and prodding, and that's what he does, I guess. But essentially, he told me about all what that does, and it's considered fraud, and I didn't know that, and I'm like, oh no, am I going to get in illegal trouble for this? Well, it turns out I looked it up. No, I can't, because I wasn't doing this for my own financial benefit, and in no way did it endorse or financially benefit me. I wasn't taking sales money, etc., anything. So there's really nothing they could do from a legal standpoint. At that time, I did not know that, but they said they weren't going to press charges. It was just they have to tell HR. Well, HR, even though it was an accident, it's considered fraudulent, and that's means of termination. So essentially, I got terminated for something I was told I was supposed to do. Now, keep in mind, I want to imply that when I worked there, there was one general manager, one assistant manager, and another manager. They have like 3, 4 managers there, sometimes more at a time. But all these people will tell you to do different things when you're doing the same thing. And I'm not blaming management, but that's just how the store ran. So, I worked with one manager and they had their way of doing things and they wanted you to do it this way, same, essentially, because everybody's different. So if you have several managers, boom, that's just how it's going. You have 4 different personalities you're dealing with. But essentially, guys, I was told by employees, to put in a zip code. I put in a zip code, bada bing, bada boom. I'm terminated somehow. And I explained how, which does make sense, but the lady ended up getting a coupon with 15 to 20% off, and that's what red flagged HR to send loss prevention to Ollie's and talk to me, essentially. So it is what it is. If you've ever worked at an Ollie's, let me know down in the comments section below. Until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and as always, I'm your host Dustin with the Scorpio's Life, and I'm out of here. Peace.